We've seen many chateaus, but that doesn't stop us from getting giddy like kids whenever we see one. Some places don't just feel like they're from another time, they feel like they're from another world. Château d'Ussé is one of those places. Sitting on the edge of the Chinon forest, this castle has seen centuries of ambition, artistry, and yes, whispers of legends that blur the line between history and myth. From its ghostly tales to its ties to Sleeping Beauty, this place is as rich in stories as it is in breathtaking views. Today, we're diving deep into Château d'Ussé, unpacking its history, wandering its halls, and even exploring the shadows it keeps. This is Saving Castles, and today, the magic begins. At first glance, Château d'Ussé looks like the kind of place Disney animators dream about, but the real story is far more complex. This castle evolved from a fortress into a statement of power, wealth, and refinement. Its Renaissance design, tinged with a Gothic edge, gives it a striking silhouette against the Loire Valley. Those delicate spires, those pale stone walls, they're pretty, and they're deliberate. But this castle wasn't always about fairy tales. It started in the 11th century as a fortress built by Norman lord Ussé. Picture a rough stone stronghold overlooking the Indre River Valley, guarding the borderlands between Christian France and the Saracens. Located just at the edge of the Chinon forest, it controlled trade routes, provided resources for timber and hunting, and kept a watchful eye over the village below. Château d'Ussé wasn't just a home, it was a statement. It was a bold reminder of authority, a declaration that this land belonged to its lord, and through him, to the crown.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Château d'Ussé. I love this chateau because it's quite unique. Unlike the chateaus that were built in the Loire Valley, this one is more of a strategic chateau than a demonstration of wealth, or rather than it being built for nobility. Because at the time it was built, the power of the king, it was very limited, and so the wealthiest families had to build chateaus like this and wage war against each other. So, quite unique.
Before the 15th century, most chateaux were built as grand tributes to kings or nobility, symbols of loyalty and service. But Château d'Ussé was different. It wasn't owned by royalty. It was strategically placed to stake ownership of vital resources and exert control over the surrounding lands. By the late 15th century, though, the world had changed. Feudal wars gave way to Renaissance culture, and fortresses like this one softened their edges. The chateau had passed through various hands over the centuries, but it was Charles d'Espinay, a French nobleman, who inherited it through his family's acquisition. When he married Lucrèce de Pont, a wealthy heiress, their combined fortunes allowed them to transform Château d'Ussé. Stone walls gave way to sweeping gardens. Defensive towers became symbols of prestige. Château d'Ussé wasn't just being rebuilt, it was being reimagined. And here's where things get interesting. In the late 17th century, French writer Charles Perrault visited the chateau. Inspired by its beauty and timelessness, he penned Sleeping Beauty. Now, I can't say for sure what he was thinking as he walked these halls, but one look at those towers, and you can almost hear the spinning wheel. The chateau even has a tower dedicated to the tale, with tableaux that bring Perrault's story to life. It's theatrical, sure, but it's also a nod to the power of stories, how a single place can inspire something that lasts for centuries. Inside, it gets even better. The grand hall is lined with soaring ceilings and ancestral portraits, while the king's bedroom drips with luxury. Canopy beds, rich tapestries, everything fit for royalty. And then there's the attic. Unlike the polished interiors, it's rustic, untouched. Dusty beams, creaking floors. It's a glimpse of the castle's raw, unvarnished past. Some might call it unkempt. I call it honest. It's like the castle is letting you in on a secret. Step outside, and the magic doesn't stop. The gardens, designed by André Le Nôtre, yes, the guy behind Versailles, are perfection. Manicured hedges, tranquil fountains, bursts of color from every corner. In summer, orange trees in cases line the terrace parterre. Just like the tableau in the tower, the garden gives you a sort of performance. And like any good performance, it leaves you in awe. Beneath the grandeur of Château d'Ussé lies its caves. Carved into the limestone hills, these caves became cellars for storing wine and food, taking advantage of the natural insulation that kept temperatures stable year-round. Inside, we found original wine presses and ancient barrels, which stood as silent witnesses to the region's winemaking tradition, dating back to the 4th century. But it was in the 15th century that the vineyards of Ussé gained true renown. The quality of the grape varieties and the expertise of the lords of Ussé became famous throughout the kingdom, elevating Jacques d'Espinay, a key figure in the chateau's history, to the prestigious title of Grand Échanson, the Grand Cupbearer of France. As a trusted chamberlain to Kings Charles VIII and Louis XI, he was responsible for overseeing the king's wine service, a true recognition of Ussé's exceptional viticulture and its influence in the royal court. Of course, not everything here is light and beauty. Beneath the castle lie its dungeons, cold stone walls that once held prisoners. The air changes down here. It's damp, heavy, and it's a reminder that for all the opulence above, this place has seen its share of darkness. Oddly enough, it's Monty's favorite spot.
It's getting a little colder, darker, and creepier. Can you imagine at a time when this is something you really wanted to avoid? If you came down this way, there are no exit signs. You probably stayed here.
And for those who seek spiritual healing, they are welcome in the chapel, the soul of the chateau. Built in the 16th century, it's small but stunning. Intricate carvings, radiant stained glass. It's a quiet moment in a place that's otherwise larger than life, and sometimes that's exactly what you need. Visiting Château d'Ussé isn't at all like visiting a museum, even with its pristinely presented rooms. It's more like stepping into a story, one that's been written, rewritten, and imagined for centuries. Château d'Ussé is in Rigny-Ussé, about 40 minutes from Tours. Tickets are €14.50 for adults, €7.50 for kids aged 8 to 16, and free for those under 8. It's open from mid-February to mid-November, with peak season hours from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. And trust me, wear comfortable shoes. You'll be walking, a lot, and climbing stairs. But that's the charm of the visit. There's lots of parking, so if you're taking a car, you won't have to worry about that. However, I would time the visit sometime in the morning. There's not a lot of restaurants nearby. The closest one is about a 20-minute drive. So if you want to catch lunch before closing time, you'll need to plan for some travel time. Before we wrap up, if you've enjoyed this journey, don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps us bring more castle stories straight to you, and believe us, there's always another tale waiting to be told. Final thoughts? Château d'Ussé gave us a fairy tale and more. It's a journey, a collision of history and fantasy, beauty and mystery, light and shadow. It stays with you. So go, explore, let it surprise you. Thanks for strolling the Chateau grounds and admiring these magnificent halls with us. Until next time, keep chasing the magic.